What's up, everybody, and welcome to the unboxing of XP3 Summer of 2021. I hope that wasn't really loud. That seems like that might be really loud. So it's 8 a.m. Eastern time. And so I'm just trying to, fake it till you make it. You guys are ministry professionals. You know what that's like. We're just, we're hanging out early this morning, and we are super excited about this. So ignore whatever facial expressions we might have during this, and trust the enthusiasm and the passion of our soul. We have a couple of puppies in the tally house that are running around, so I apologize for a little bit of barking that you might hear at some point. But we are so excited that y'all are here. We are going to be talking about the summer 2021 that came out on March 1st, that if you are an XP3 partner, you've already had access to. If you're not, then hopefully you're going to learn about how awesome it is, and you're going to want access to it. So we're going to be talking about series titles. We're going to be talking about themes. You're going to see some graphics. You're going to hear from the XP3 team about what they're excited about, and some really, 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 really cool stuff that we're going to be talking about at the end that is brand new and I think is going to be an awesome fit for a lot of ministries. My name is Brett. If we've never met before, I am an orange specialist, which doesn't make a lot of sense if you're not familiar with that language. Essentially, I'm a free coach that comes along with your partnership with Orange. And if you have never talked to your orange specialist, especially Candace or Charlie, right, guys, you guys can back me up here. Like, I'm fine, whatever. Like, I can probably be helpful. But Candace and Charlie are just rock stars. And if you schedule time with them, they are going to help your ministry tenfold. So you can go to orangestudents.com/OS. We'll throw that in the chat, and you can schedule a time to meet with one of us. But enough about me. We also joining us the day after International Women's Day, three of the most amazing women that I know in my life. The XP3 director of XP3 Middle School, Miss Ashley Marie Bohentz.
Hi, friends.
The director of XP3 High School, Leslie Mack.
Hello.
L Mack. Leslie, what's your middle name?
Nicole.
Nicole. Leslie Nicole Mack.
Such an 80s kid.
Such an 80s.
Well, speaking of 80s kids, I keep referring to you as L Mack, and it keeps reminding me of Melmac, which is the home planet of Alf. If anybody remembers Alf out there.
I had the Alf board game. Did you know there was an Alf board game?
I did, had it too. It had the Alf scoot board. It was like a scooter, but with handlebars for people who couldn't do skateboards.
Yeah.
I'm sitting over here trying to remember what Alf is.
Alf was an alien life form, ALF, who landed on Earth from Melmac because everyone plugged their hair dryers in at the same time in Melmac, and it exploded. And he landed in Willie's house, and he liked to eat cats, and it's this whole thing. Yeah, Leslie's too young. She doesn't even know what Alf is.
I kind of remember. I vaguely remember it because it looked kind of
weird,
creepy, right?
Brown. Yeah, yes. Brown. Yeah, there he is.
Oh, okay. Nope, I'm not doing that this morning.
Sounds like something I wouldn't have been allowed to watch.
Right.
Okay, I've completely derailed us. Leslie, we're so excited you're here. And then the executive director of Orange Student Strategy, Crystal Chang. How are you, Crystal?
Hi, friends. So good. So good. Look, I found this shirt. I'm very excited about it. So I want to show you because you can't see under my collar. It says Forever Optimistic. Is that not what you need at the end of a pandemic?
I can see you like in a meeting. Something's happening. You're like,
That feels very scandalous.
That's a veiled threat. Like, stop talking about it.
She looks at Leslie and I like, be excited right now.
All right, so we're jumping into this season of XP3 summer content. So if you're new to the Orange community, we're part of the Orange Students team. And one of the things we do is produce a curriculum called XP3 Middle School, XP3 High School. As we're talking, if you're not familiar with XP3 and Orange Students, you can go to orangestudents.com or thinkorange.com/XP3. We'll throw both of those up in the chat. And we release a new season of content every single quarter. And our summer season was released on March 1st. And so when that happens, we like to celebrate by waking up really early, apparently sometimes, and just kind of diving into the season a little bit to give you a sneak peek. You already have access to it, but kind of giving you some some insider understanding of the way it was developed and what our team is super excited about. But before we jump into that, so we're talking about the summer content. And depending on where you are, we actually have a gorgeous week here in Georgia. It's going to be in the 60s pretty much all week and sunny in the afternoon. But in the mornings, when I walk my children to the bus stop, it is like 28 degrees. So it doesn't really feel like summer a lot of the day here, and a lot of the places that y'all are too. But summer of 2021, if money wasn't an issue and if the pandemic were over, what would you do? What's one thing you would do this summer?
Shows, go to shows, go see live music with other people in the same room, enjoy the concert, all of that. That's mine.
Okay,
Ooh,
so shows for you are concerts.
Are you asking which I prefer?
I don't know. I don't know what people mean when they say shows. Are we talking Broadway, a movie, a concert?
No, I mean like
local theater,
smaller music events, smaller than like an arena. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like small venue, tucked away, good listening room.
Okay, one band, go, or artist.
Stop! No, stop!
Yeah, house show down the street. Where are you going? Who is it?
David Ryan Harris. He's
Okay,
acoustic singer-songwriter. Used to play with John Mayer. Beautiful voice. Yes, David Ryan Harris.
So if you don't know who that is, don't wait till we're done and then go look him up. All right, Crystal, what are you thinking?
Oh, I'm on a plane somewhere. Don't
just
care
flying.
where. Put me on a plane to somewhere this summer.
Are you just gonna get on the airport, get back on, and come back to Atlanta? Is it just about the plane ride?
Yes. It's literally about being in a flying death trap with people all around me. That's all I want.
Oh gosh, a flying death trap sounds traumatizing.
But I think that might have been a punk band I
crackers
listened
and
to
a
in high
soda.
school. Crackers
All
and
I
a
want
soda.
is crackers and a soda. Just bring
Only
it
half
away. I can't wait.
Only half the can though. You're not gonna get the whole can, Crystal.
It's true.
They're just gonna give you half of it.
Listen, I've
All right.
watched way too many TikToks about how they make the ice in planes and they never clean out the water tanks. I may never be able to do soda on a plane again because I think I'm got to be like, give it to me hot. I cannot do the ice on a plane.
I didn't even know I should be concerned about this.
Now you know.
This does not sound forever optimistic. You're off brand right now, Crystal.
Sorry, it's all going to be great.
There we go.
I've seen the same thing about coffee on planes.
I guess it makes sense if water is the issue, whatever they would use. Oof. Okay, we're gonna take a hard left here. Ash, what do you got? Bring us back.
I'm with Crystal. I'm for sure on a plane, but I'm for sure going to Ethiopia. This is the longest it's been since I've traveled there. It's my favorite place to travel. And I have a lot of friends there I haven't seen in 2 years now. And
shout out to Carrie 117. We'll throw that link up too if you're not sure what that is.
Thanks.
Yeah. And
what about you, Brett?
I'm representing what I would do.
Of course.
At some point this summer, I got to get to a ballpark and watch some baseball. So that's my plan. All right, so let's hop into this. So we got 4 series, middle school, 4 series in high school that we're going to be hitting. You're going to see some graphics, hear what our team is really excited about. Before we jump into that, Crystal,
okay.
I know you have some thoughts that you wanted to share.
I have some thoughts. First of all, if you're one of our partners in Australia or in that hemisphere, on that side of the world, or on that part of the world, and you hear summer and you're like, well, that's not very helpful because it's dead of winter here. Do not worry. The series, we call it the summer season because it's summer here when we release it, but the series are not like
we're really egocentric here in the States.
Sorry, it's ridiculous. But there's nothing in the series that says you could not use it in the middle of winter, so no worries. Second thing, we like to plan these way in advance. And so we were thinking back about this season was planned in the fall of 2019, when all of us were just a little bit more innocent than we are now. We just didn't know what was coming. And we like to do that so that you have your whole year plan. You can plan out your whole year in advance, but we don't release the series content until quarterly. And I am so glad because so many things changed since 2019. That we've had a whole pandemic, whole lot of things have changed. And so you may notice in your content this summer, a lot has changed. There's been some title changes and there's been a few content changes. And we know that's not ideal. We know that when you like to plan, it's like, why would you change things up on me? But I also know that in your ministry, like in ministries where I've served, cultural events happen and you change the plans, or you have a timing conflict with a speaker and you change the plans, or you just have a better idea. And so this summer, there were several of those instances, and we'll talk about those as we get into the content, but just a heads up, there are a few changes, mostly because we planned this in 2019.
Well, that's what I always love about XP3 is that it gave me the tools to be able to plan long term and have kind of a big picture mindset. But the fact that it was releasing quarterly, so I knew that it was going to be relevant, and if it pivoted, there was a lot of really good reasons and strategy for why that was going to happen. Awesome. Crystal, thank you so much for that. So the first series we're going to talk about, the theme is kind of temptation. So Les, kind of give us a heads up. What does this look like in high school world? What's it called? What's the series called?
Yep, absolutely. This is one of those tiny changes that Crystal was talking about. Our title kind of changed on this one. And so the title of our temptation series is Get Out of My Mind. So this is all about temptation, which we know we've talked about before, but this time we're talking about it in a way we've never talked about before. We're leaning not so much into just talking about how to avoid temptation, but we're talking about what's the root cause of temptation. I think a big thing that we want our students to know is that, like, being tempted to do something bad doesn't make you a bad person. So we lean into that, and like the perfect example of that is like Jesus was tempted. He was not a bad person, right? And so we start there. We start with the story of Jesus and how he experiences temptation in the wilderness. I won't get into all the details of it, but two things I'm really, really excited for this series. The first one, the XP for this, we get to help students create a temptation plan, or an in case of temptation plan, right? It's that moment of when you feel like you're about to panic. Sometimes the thing you want the most is just, what's the first thing I can do right now? Instead of
escape,
them walk through, asking some really strategic questions and saying like, hey, in case of temptation, what's the first thing you're going to do? What's the second thing you're going to do? What's the third thing you're going to do? Who do you need to invite into this? And so creating an in case of temptation plan, we're really excited about that. The second thing is, obviously, we're getting teenagers into a small group and saying, go talk about your temptations. That's going to be weird. So the thing I'm really, really excited about is that we kind of crafted a really great conversation journey for our students when they get into small groups. So trust your small group leader guide on this one. It keeps it from just being like weird and they're saying things that we need to inappropriate things, but we're kind of turning the conversation to be authentic, vulnerable, creating a trustworthy space and all of that. Those are the two things I'm excited for.
When we talk so much at Orange about creating a safe space, and like these are like the exact situations why we spend so much time trying to build those. Crystal, what do you got?
Okay, so that just jogged my memory on something. So our team has been reading this book on the teenage brain, and I know, Brett, you and I have been in like this forever long group text.
Oh, I got it around here somewhere. I was going to flash it, but I don't know where it is.
Well, one of the things that came up that I really loved in this book was a study of teenagers deciding, is something a good decision or a bad decision? And they're just flashed situation after situation. And what was so interesting is they were able to make the right choice, but their response time was slower than the response time of the fifth graders. And the fifth graders made the same amount of right choices, but the response time of the teenagers was so much slower because their brains and the part of their brain that can predict future outcomes is still getting connected. And so that's why I think this in case of temptation plan is so important, because they can make the right choice, but sometimes we have to help them pause and give their brain time to catch up to that right choice. So,
that's so good.
Good move, Les. I love it.
That's so good.
That's
and
good.
What's wild is like we begin to make, patterns and cycles when we're in middle school and in high school, and how we handle temptation, that if we get in some really unhealthy patterns and cycles and escapism and different things like that, man, that's so difficult to break when you are getting older and older in life. So the earlier that we can help them process and understand those healthy patterns, that's great stuff.
I love that.
What's the series called? Sorry.
No, you're good. I was going to say in middle school, this series is called What I Really Want. Shout out to Spice Girls. You know what I'm saying?
Well, tell me what you want.
Tell me what you really want.
Really want.
That's for all the small group leaders.
Zega Zeg Ah, is that the subtitle of the...
Yes.
That should have been the tagline for the series. But Leslie, something I love what you said. You said trust the small group guide in this series. And I would say the exact same thing for middle school, because the XPs that we included in the small group guide for middle school really help middle schoolers like connect with God as they're kind of navigating temptation. There are several journal pages, which I know that means you have to print pages and you have to cut pages and you have to prepare them for each small group. But I would say this is a really important one to do that for, because it helps them take what they hear from the stage, what they're talking about in group, and start to internalize it for themselves. And we actually lean into the feelings wheel that we created a season or two ago, bring that back into this as we're talking about temptation and the feelings that come along with it. How do we help middle schoolers and high schoolers name the feelings and the things they're experiencing? And one of the things I'm really excited about for this series, okay, if you saw our credits page for middle school for this season, on the very bottom, there happened to be a very special guest. Here, let me pull up the picture. A special guest pictured on our credits page. So this is my sister's dog, Rain. So she's like my niece pup. And this is a Weimaraner, which is the kind of dog on Sesame Street. So we're like bringing it back around in middle school, if you know what I mean? And if you watch TikTok at all, you know the challenge that happened over the last year where like they would put like the snacks in front of the toddler and they would say like, you can have this, but you have to wait until I get back. And then the mom would walk away and the toddler would be like totally tempted by that piece of snack or whatever. And then people started doing it with their dogs. So Rain did that challenge, and you'll have to see how she did. You can check your folder, your teaching folder for, I think it's week 1 of What I Really Want. And it's also in the teaching video listed. So you can let us know how that turns out.
Oh, well, and Ash, since you brought up dogs, so here's little Junie, the newest member of the Tally family.
Everybody
who's the actual puppy of our dog Hank too. So it's just keep it in the family. So I just might just do this the rest of the time. Miss holding babies. All right, sorry. We're gonna get back on track here. Okay. Anything else
in the pandemic?
Anything else with temptation? All right, let's jump into serving. Ash, what's that called in middle school?
It's called Movement, which I'm very excited for the graphics and bumper of this series in middle school. We used like the whole idea of like a silhouette of dancers and all different kind of dance moves and movements to kind of paint the idea of like it's action oriented and we're doing something about it. And one thing I see a lot in a lot of the youth pastor Facebook groups right now is people asking, what are you? Well, yes, for sure.
Oh, wait, sorry. I thought you were going somewhere else.
We need to see more of that. But what I see a lot of is people asking, what are you doing about serving and mission trips this summer? And so one of the things I'm most excited about for this series is a 2-week series. And we're really challenging students to do something that they don't have to do and do something that they might be scared to do. Maybe they haven't done it before and experienced it before. And what I love about this 2-week series is it actually is an opportunity for you as a ministry to bring the mission opportunity inside. If you are in a place in the country where you can't travel anywhere yet, or maybe your families aren't ready to send their students, or maybe there's a small group that's ready to go, but there's a large group staying behind. And I think what I love about this series is you get a chance to help bring all of these opportunities to serve inside your building, or in your community if you're able. And so for you, that if you're planning, what are we going to do? I would use this series as a launch point to make sure you give every kid an opportunity to serve somewhere in the church and somewhere outside of the church, even if outside of the church means bringing that cause inside, to just bring it outside again.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of churches are doing Do Something right now, or they're going to be doing Do Something soon with this a Justice series, which is a great time to even start brainstorming, even if the students don't really know that they're coming up with a plan for them to actually make an impact over the summer. And so you can start kind of, figuring some of those pieces out right now.
Yep. Love that.
All right. What's the name in high school, Leslie?
In high school, I'm going to let Crystal take the name for this one.
Oh, I'm so excited about it. The high school name for the serving series is called Rebellious. And the idea is there are these norms in culture that almost feel like rules we have to follow. Ideas like look out for yourself, only do what you have to do the absolute minimum you can get away with. And that's so common in a world that it almost feels like a rule you have to obey. And so we're challenging high schoolers to rebel against those rules in the same way that Jesus would have.
I love that so much. And so the thing probably I'm really excited about is that, to me, this whole series is about opening your eyes to actually seeing these moments where you can serve. I know that there's one of the Devos, there's this activity that you do where you go for a walk and you look around your neighborhood, and we're not just saying, who do you see that you can serve? We're actually asking them to think a layer even deeper, challenge it even deeper. Who are you not seeing? Like kind of in circles you always travel in. So I'm really excited about that. I think another area that this is eye-opening and helps you see service is that we're also asking them, look around your family. Who in your home can you serve? And it's not always about this grand one time going to serve, kind of how are you serving in your everyday life all the time? So
this is so good. And if you're familiar with a lot of Orange language or Orange literature, we talk about mobilizing the faith of high schoolers, especially. And so if you're leading a high school group, this is not a series to move over or to move by, even though it's just a 2-week series. Find space for it, time find for it, help them understand that their faith is not just knowledge, that it is something they're called to actually do something, help them mobilize what it is that they believe and what they're thinking through. Awesome. Thank you, ladies. All right, the next one is a trending and I have questions, and one that I am super, super excited about. Leslie, why don't you kick us off for this one? What's it called in high school?
Yes, our I Have Questions for this season is called I Have Questions About How to Have a Great Small Group. And I know you're like, I don't know any teenagers who are walking around saying, how do I have a great small group? Well, it was super, super, super strategic on our part, because we know that after the pandemic, or kind of in the middle of like what's going to happen next as churches are reopening, figuring out what does that look like. This is a strategic time to relaunch the strength of your small groups. Yeah. And so I'm excited about this 1 week series. We're asking our students to say, like, hey, look at your small group. After the large group time and you sit with your small group, what are some areas that you want to be true about our small group when it comes to encouragement, when it comes to, is this a trustworthy group? Rank them on a scale of 1 to 10, right? You'll see that in the small group questions. And essentially asking your students, like, hey, so what grade would you give our small group, and how can we change it, right? So we're helping put some of that ownership on the students to own what they want their group to be. I'm excited about it. I'm excited also because it pushes against this idea that your small group is this exclusive club and other people aren't welcome here. And it leans into, again, how do we create a culture that anybody who shows up here wants to continue that culture with this small group? So
yeah, and of course, people call small groups all sorts of life groups or community groups. Obviously, you change the title to whatever you want there, of whatever that kind of community piece is titled looks like for y'all. Ash, what about middle school? What's it called?
Trending is on the topics of how to have a great small group. Same thing that Leslie just said. But one of the opportunities we kind of built into this standalone message is giving high school leaders or high schoolers a chance to come in and speak to middle schoolers about their small group experience, and like select high schoolers who maybe really are making the most of their small group experience. Because, hey, we've been in a pandemic for the last year, and that means we've had 6th graders move into youth ministry and never have been in the building yet, and never have physically been with a small group. And so even though they may have done small groups in Kidman, they may look different in youth ministry. And so this is a great way, like Leslie said, to like relaunch and recast vision for students who may like have kind of fallen off the wagon when it comes to like if they're even engaged with their small groups. I was also thinking this is an amazing message to keep for youth workers for any time either a 6th grader moves into your ministry or a 9th grader moves into the high school ministry. If you have them separate, even if you like do it one message for everybody this first time, and then this is just a message every year when you have a new group move in, you could give this message specifically to that grade to help cast vision for what the future of their small group in this ministry is going to be. And so I love the fact that we're leaning into high schoolers' experience because they're so close in age, and they're like, oh, cool, that person's really cool. I want to have that experience. And I just love how often I think this message could be used. It's a staple talk.
Well, and what a perfect time to use this as an opportunity to recast vision and redefine expectations for your small group leaders. Because I think that we probably all know, that sometimes small group leaders feel like they even have different roles. You've got one that wanted to be a small group leader because they have always been a Sunday school teacher, and they think that this is the version of being a Sunday school teacher now. And so, you know what I mean? And someone who just wants to mentor somebody. And it's not really both of those. It's different than that. And so it really gives a time to really clarify with your small group leaders, hey, here's what we're asking. Here's what we want you to do, your relationship in all of this. Here's how to facilitate these conversations. So yeah, what a great time to, to reset and kind of refocus on what really is a core for a lot of student ministries.
Okay, so like one last thing. So this message, maybe more than anything we've done in a while, is really near and dear to my heart, because this is the talk that I had with my own small group in their sophomore year, when I realized, I don't know if other small group leaders feel this, but like, we had warring factions.
Yeah.
Like, we had two groups of girls who did not like each other. And I felt like a failure as a leader. And I think a lot of small group leaders feel that way. Like, when things are not great, we feel like it's our fault. And so having this conversation with my girls and putting the onus on them, like, you get to decide what your experience is in the next 4 years, and it will be great or it will just be okay. And ultimately that will be your decision. It took a lot of pressure off me, but it also put really good pressure on them. And there was so much change that happened. So just as like a satisfied customer,
Yeah.
I would say, if you don't do any other talk this summer, relaunch in the fall, because we have like this crazy opportunity to relaunch our ministries, relaunch with this one.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right. So we're going to talk about one more series, and there's a lot to unpack here that we're all super excited about. So the theme is this idea of faith skills, which might be spiritual habits to some of you. There might be some different language that you use, but as we talk, I think that you're, gonna understand it pretty quickly. So Ash, kick us off with this one a little bit. What's the series name in middle school?
I'm so excited about this. Actually, the series name for both middle school and high school are the same, and that was intentional. The series is called Habits, both middle school and high school. And the reason that we decided to align on the name for this is because this is a foundational message for the future of our curriculum. And I think if there's anything we learned this year, I mean, we were having this conversation long before the pandemic. We were talking a lot about the students who didn't come to youth group on Sunday or Wednesday because they had sports practice. And we were trying to figure out, like, how do we keep them engaged? What are we supposed to do to reach those families? And so we've been wrestling with that for a while. And then the pandemic hits and nobody can come to programming. It's like there isn't even a program for them to come to at some point. And then it's like, okay, we're doing it digitally, and some kids can come digitally, but others can come in person, and others can meet on the lawn outside. And all of a sudden, like, everything decentralized, everything that is no more. And so we continued that conversation. It kind of went next level. And we said, like, how do we help our teenagers continue growing in their faith, regardless if they can ever come to programming, whether it's because of sports, a death in the family, traveling, like, how do we create that in them, like a desire for their growing faith? And so out of that came this whole idea of, we want our teenagers to have an everyday faith, a faith that goes with them everywhere, into everything, and it's for everyone. And out of that came this series, Habits, which is really the catalyst and the launch series to really launch a devotional strategy in your youth ministry. And so in the series Habits, we talk about the 4 faith skills, which is what we call our spiritual habits. This is one of the things that we believe can grow your faith. And that's hearing from God's word and God's creation, praying, talking to God, talking about God and hearing others talk about God, and then living out a life of worship, not just music, but like everything that you do. How do you live your life in a worship mindset? And so we basically talk about one of each of these faith skills each week of the series. And everything is built around this idea of, this is the start. How do we carry it on forward? And so there was a lot of other things created afterwards, which I know we're about to dive into, but I guess that's the heartbeat of the series. And really it came out of our heart for, we never want to be in a situation where we're like, how are we helping kids grow and we can't gather them? We're already empowering them to do it themselves?
Well, a couple things I like Hear Talk Pray Live has been like that, just that language has been beneficial for my spiritual life. Like I'll literally do a spiritual inventory sometimes. Like if I'm feeling disconnected or I'm feeling off, okay, Hear Talk Pray Live, like what am I like what am I not doing? Like what disciplines have I let go, or what do I need to focus on? So even as an adult, I think that this will be good for y'all as leaders, and for your volunteers. And it's a piece that, if we can really help them just remember those 4 words and what they mean, can move with them through the next stages of life.
But I love that you said that, because I think about this a lot, that so much of youth ministry is discipling volunteers.
Yeah.
Maybe even more than discipling the students, you're discipling the disciplers. And this has been beneficial for me. I think it would be beneficial for every volunteer to go through this series either with their students or before their students.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. I love that, Crystal. That's so good.
A little pre-homework.
Yeah.
That's right.
I love it.
And so, go ahead, Leslie.
Oh, I just wanted to chime in 2 things that I'm excited about for high school with this series is that we've been talking about, like, the habit is connecting with God, right? Doing these 4 things to connect with God. And so habits in the week 5 of the high school series, I'm excited that the large group talk time ends with a chance to connect with God through worship, right? Worship isn't just singing, it's connecting with God. And so I'm excited for people to look out for that in week 5 of the series. And then also the XP for high school. Is this really, I think it's just really brilliant to bring something that typically we experience digitally, like a streak or something that's counting digitally, to bring that to real life. And we kind of created a tangible streak to say how many days in a row or how many times in a row did you achieve this, did you do this faith skill or this habit? And I think if you're not careful, that could turn negative, right? Oh, I missed a day, and you can be hard on yourself. But really, it's creating so many opportunities to celebrate the chances when you do get it right. It's not really about an unbroken streak. It's about a streak that just continues. So,
Ooh, I love that.
That's awesome. And Ash, you mentioned kind of in the midst of these conversations, it came to kind of some bigger conversations about what are we doing to help students, and what are we doing to help churches help students have this growing opportunity, this everyday faith. Like you said, maybe it's a student who's doing travel soccer, so they can't really show up very often. Or to the flip side, maybe it's that kid who's there every single week and who is looking for opportunities to connect with God more often than at church, or grow a little bit deeper. So Ash, kind of crack us off this conversation, start us off talking about where did these bigger conversations lead to with us wanting to be able to resource churches with this?
I love that. So I mentioned just kind of this idea of a devotional strategy, and we've always had one, but we've basically just upgraded it. If you've been around XP3 for any length of time, you know that we offer something called daily devotionals. We offer it in a printed page for students who might not have a tablet, or who don't yet have a phone, or who prefer pen and paper. And we also offer it on the YouVersion Bible app. And we still do that. There's 7 devos a week for each middle school and high school, and that goes along with every series that we have. But we leaned into the idea that, what if we had students writing devotionals for students? Like, what if we literally had a 12-year-old write a devotional for a 12-year-old? What would that look like? And so we began this journey of recruiting students from a lot of your ministries. Actually, a lot of youth pastors watching this were the ones who helped us tap into students. And we had tons of students submit writing samples, and we selected a handful of them to write with us. So the 6th day of every week of devotionals is a student writer, and
so cool, from
somewhere in the world. I mean, we have a lot of different locations in the world, which is really fun.
And they're on the contributors page.
They are. We have a student section. It's so fun. Brett, throw a picture of that student
section. I'll put it up there.
I love it. And so we just thought, for students who read through the truth through the eyes of another student who maybe lives in a completely different situation or context or culture, like, what would it look like for them to understand a God who's a God of all people and who is a God of all different contexts and cultures? And so every season we're going to be continuing to do this. So if you're sitting there, you're like, I have students who would love to do that. We can drop that link in the chat for you. So we're currently accepting new submissions for student writers for the next season. I think the deadline's coming pretty quick, but we plan to do that for each season moving forward. So that's one thing we're doing. Before I move on to the next, Crystal and Leslie, anything you want to add there?
Okay, yes, first of all. I always want to add something. Ashley would not say this to you on the screen, but Ashley led this project and did one of the most amazing upgrade jobs I have ever seen. The level of innovation, but also the level of care in this process has been so inspiring to watch, because these teenagers weren't just told to write something and then maybe you're in and maybe you're out and maybe you'll hear from us, maybe you won't. Like, they were coached along the way. They were brought into a relationship with some leaders in our organization who want to mentor and love on them. And it was just like, watching you care for the teenagers was so inspiring. And our adult writers should be nervous, because these teenagers are so good.
They are so good.
Reading their devos, I was like, where have you been? Oh, you were in elementary school. But like, I'm so glad you're here now.
Oh, thank you, Crystal. That is super kind. Shout out to our phase editors, Lauren Sellers and Jessica Hatmaker, who really helped take the lead on those students. Every kid who submits a writing, they will hear back from us, whether they're selected to be featured or not. So you can be assured of that.
That's awesome. I'm so excited about that. So there's another really big component of this that sort of existed, but it's gone through a big shift. So a few years ago, we came up with this thing called the expansion pack, like the XP3 expansion pack. So some of you out there have used it or are using it, where you've got two programs. You've got kind of, maybe Sunday night or Wednesday night kind of, youth group where you're using XP3, large group, small group. But then you've got a Sunday morning or a midweek small group that you're also responsible for. So the XP3 expansion pack was created to help align what you're doing in that program. Takes the bottom line from XP3, it dives deeper through the 4 faith skills: hear, talk, pray, live. So if you've done the expansion pack, you and your students should be familiar with that language. But now that is getting kind of balled up into this everyday faith strategy, and it got a real shift and an upgrade. So talk us through what we can expect from the, let's see, what are they called again?
Faith Skills Experience Kit.
Faith Skills Experience Kit. There we go.
We kind of shifted the name to actually reflect exactly what it is. When we originally created the expansion packs, we were talking a lot about the science behind learning and how adolescent development, the more alignment we can have between the lessons they're learning, the more likely they are to retain the information. If we can help them learn the same thing 3 times throughout the week, but learn it from different angles, different ways, different conversations, the more likely they will retain that truth. But what we decided, through this pandemic was maybe that content shouldn't align with the main service. Maybe it should align with their daily devotional life. So regardless if that kid can show up for programming, they can still participate in the Faith Skills Experience Kit. And so we were reimagining it. We're like, what if they had their weekly programming, maybe it's Sunday morning or Wednesday night, and then they have their daily devotional 7 days a week where they're connecting with God on their own. And then what if at some point midweek, there was a devotional experience, which is kind of a new phrase for people. But what if we were able to get students together, whether it's on Zoom or in a park or maybe in a Sunday school classroom? And what if together, it wasn't another lesson, but it was an experience where they connected with God together. And we take them through hear, live, talk, and pray, and different exercises. And basically, of those 4 faith skills, each week we take one, and it's like the main experience for the week, and the other skills kind of support that experience. Where prior to that, the expansion packs, each section was kind of separate, so you could kind of pick and choose what you wanted to do. But this devotional experience takes them through this spiritual experience with other people, because we know we grow together and we grow individually, and that's an important piece. And what I love about this is it can be student led. So if you have students who want to lead their peers, maybe because the small group leaders can't give a second day during the week, then this is the perfect opportunity to do that. We've written it in a way where students can lead it, volunteers can lead it, and even in some situations, parents can lead it if they want to with their family, if they're in quarantine or something. And so you can purchase the Faith Skills Experience Kit seasons on our Orange store right now. And I'm really excited for what the future of this devotional strategy looks like. If
Hmm.
for the alignment of their main programming to their daily devotional life, to this devotional experience that can be used in so many different contexts. We have a ton of churches who are piloting this new strategy with us, and I can't wait for you to hear from them how it's going, because I'm excited about the future of this specific strategy.
Yeah. What
You
I
know-
love is how much time, Ashley, that you guys put into wanting it to align with what churches might be doing with XP3, but at the same time, this can live totally separate from
Yep.
from XP3, and it still works. So
Yeah.
if you're not using XP3, or if you've got a season where you're not using it, but this really fits with something you're doing, please still take a look at it, because it can absolutely fit with what you're doing, even if you're
Yep.
not using XP3 series. Sorry, Crystal.
You're totally fine. I was just thinking about what I love so much about this is every ministry I've ever led in, there's been a moment where a certain group of kids came up to me and said, "We want to go deeper." And most of the time they have no idea what they mean by that. It sounds
As adults, I don't think
great.
we know what it means. We say that all the
No
time, and I
idea.
don't know that we understand.
And so what ends up happening is somebody has an idea for a book that's more complex information. So it sounds deeper because it's more complex, but it wasn't written for teenagers, or it has nothing to do with what they're learning during the week. Or it was written for adults, and then they get frustrated and they feel like they can't do it. And the deeper group sort of fizzles out really quickly. And I've seen that happen over and over and over. And even in my own group, I saw this happen this last time around when they were second semester of 10th grade. Let's go deeper. Let's meet one day a week. And there was some push to do things that I was like, it sounds good. You're probably not there yet. Like you're probably, this is a book about marriage and family and you're 15, like you're not there yet. And so this gave an answer for a way to go truly deeper in your own spiritual walk without having to go into the land of adult content. Sounds weird. It was coming out of my mouth and I was like, adult content, I can't say that.
That'll get their attention.
I'm going to say that again. This gives a way for groups like mine to go deeper in their faith in a way that's practical and helpful for where they are in life right now. I'm so excited for so many churches to do that.
Well, when I have conversations with student pastors and they talk about that idea of deeper, I think that there are some really important filters we have to go through. And probably the most important is what is most helpful for the faith development of that student where they are. Mm-hmm. Because deeper doesn't, like, you can't just say deeper across the board if you've got 6th through 12th graders in the room. Right. Even if you just have high schoolers or just middle schoolers in the room, deeper means a lot of different things, and it means different things for where they are, which just, is one of the reasons why, everybody who's watching this has really difficult jobs, and we're really grateful that they do what we do, and we just want to do everything we can do to help them do what only they can do. And that was a lot of the word do in one sentence. I apologize. Leslie, what are your thoughts on everyday faith?
I'm really excited about it. Obviously, I think maybe the thing that I'm most excited about in the whole picture is that it's so strategic, right? They've thought about it from every single angle. And so our phase editors going through it, making sure that it hits students right where they are. I think it creates an opportunity that we've already said of, like, if they can't come to your large group time, is their faith still growing? Are their faith still growing? And so I think that's, for me, it's the strategicness and the strategy. Strategicness? Is that a word?
Yeah. Strategery.
Yeah.
Strategery.
The strategery of it is exactly that's what gets me most excited about it, for sure. That is so awesome. So everydayfaithexperience.com is where they can learn more about that, right? We'll throw that up. Sorry, Ash, what were you going to say?
I was just going to mention later this month, we're going to go live in this Facebook group to talk specifically about the everyday faith strategy and more details. We're going to talk deeper about it. We're going to talk deeper about the everyday faith strategy. So you'll hear from us. We'll let you know when that's going to be, but you can tune in then for more information. But if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to any of us. We're excited to share about it. We really believe that this can take us to the next level, all of us.
Absolutely. Okay, I've just got a couple more announcements, and then I'm going to wrap it up. Crystal, you've got something else?
Excuse me, I have something very important to say.
Yeah, go.
I just discovered it. and maybe everyone else knew this, but I just discovered it. And we have not acknowledged that Leslie and Ashley and I are literally all wearing the same jacket.
Yeah, we are.
What?
Go.
We all are wearing the same jacket. Sorry, I was very excited when I discovered it. We are the cutest.
I didn't
Right,
get
you
the
look
group
like
text
you're-
at 7 a.m. saying
You
where-
look like you're about to play baseball. We look like we're going, to speak.
I've got my baseball 3/4 tee on. I'm in baseball mode right now, coaching my son's team, ready for spring training to be over. Let's start the season.
I love it.
Okay, sorry. Go on with like the important stuff.
I'm so jealous. And like Leslie's in front of like this unbelievable piece of art that she created. And then like here's my art and my background. And no, my kids didn't make this. This is what I did. I'm just kidding. Like my kids made this. But you guys will think this is funny. Guess what's on the back of this? It's an old XP3 poster.
That's the best.
Oh man.
Wow.
Okay, so a couple other things that we're really excited about that we want to make sure that you know about. Be on a lookout for that Everyday Faith Facebook Live. You're going to want to be a part of that so you can learn more about what's going on. everydayfaithexperience.com. If you are an XP3 partner and you're not jumping in your Orange Specialist strategy sessions, man, I'm telling you, we have had some unbelievable conversations. I had one a couple weeks ago about the future of student ministry. I had one about parent strategy a few weeks ago. Basically, we do a couple of those a week around different, strategies and themes, and there's no content. It's just basically a group brainstorm with a bunch of other leaders who are thinking through the same things as y'all. So we'll throw some links on there for that. And we started doing an Orange student newsletter, and we want to make sure that you're getting it. So if you want to make sure that you're getting the Orange student newsletter so you can kind of keep up to date on things like Everyday Faith when they get released and all this fun stuff that we're doing, just shoot me, Charlie, or Candace an email. We'll throw our emails in there. If you're not getting that and you want it, make sure you email us and we'll work with you to make sure that we get things clicked in right so that you are getting those. All right, ladies, anything else you can think of you want to say?
I hope
So
you have the
excited.
best summer ever.
The best summer ever.
Yes.
All right, so I will with this little one right here. Thank you guys for hanging out with us.
Bye,
See you later.
friends.
Bye, friends.